Hello everyone. In this video, we will be going to talk about the crash course on IAM. Let us see what are the things that is covered in this crash course. First of all, I will be going to talk about Introduction to Identity and Access Management in AWS. What are its benefits of using this service? Next, I will be going to talk about how you can create an IAM user. After that, I will be going to talk about how to create an IAM role in AWS. Next, we will be going to talk about what are the various types of policies which are available in AWS and how you can create one. Next, we are going to talk about how to create password policies in AWS. Next, I am going to talk about how to get programmatic access using access keys in AWS. Next, I will be going to talk about how to add an extra layer of security using the multi-factor authentication in AWS. And at last, we will be going to talk about a security token service in AWS. Let us see you in this crash course. Hope you will like it. Hello everyone. In this video, I am going to talk about IAM. IAM stands for Identity Access Management. It is a service in AWS which help you to control who can access your AWS resources and what they can do with them. Now, let us understand what are some main components of IAM. First of all, we have users. These are the individual identities with their own credential. Let us take an example. Suppose that you want your friend Ravi to give access. So what you will do? You will create an user account for Ravi with some permission assigned to them. Then we have groups. Groups basically, let us say, instead of Ravi, there are multiple friends of yours and you want to give some permission. So instead of giving permission one by one, what you can do? You can assign permission to a specific group directly. Next, roles. Roles are basically temporary identities with some specific permission. Suppose that I want to create a role which has a permission to read my S3 files. So for that, you can create roles. Next, we have policies. Policies are basically a JSON document which define all your permission. You can either allow a resource or you can either deny a resource. Last but not the least is multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication basically adds an extra layer of security by requiring a second form of verification using, let us say, Google Authenticator app. Hello everyone. In this video, I am going to talk about IAM user in AWS. Let us say you are working on a project and you want your friend Alex to collaborate on your project. So what you will do? You will create an user account for your friend Alex and give him the username and password for secure access. Now you can assign a specific permission to your friend Alex, allowing him to view and upload the files in S3 bucket, but not to delete them. It helps us to maintain control over the critical data. Also, you can track everything like what your friend have done using the AWS CloudTrail. Now, let us see a demo in AWS. First of all, you will go to AWS Management Console. Now here I am already signing as a root user. Now I want to create an IAM user. So you have to go to IAM here. Next, you have to go to user. After that, you have to create a new user. So you'll click on create user. Now specify the username. So my username is here Alex. Next, it is asking that you want to provide AWS Management Console access or not. Let us say I am going to provide the Management Console access to my friend. Here, you have to specify the user type. Here, I am creating an IAM user, so I will click on here. Now, it is asking that you want to auto-generate password or a custom password. Now, I want to generate the password automatically. So, I will select on auto-generate password. After that, here it is saying that users may create a new password at next sign-in. Let us say at that point I am disabling this. Here it is saying that the Alex can create a new password when it is login for the first time. Now click on next. Now in this section, what you have to do, you have to attach some policies, like attach some permission to your Alex user. Let us say I want to give Alex certain permissions, such as I want to give him the read-only access, and I want to give him S3 full access. Now I will click on next. Now verify all the details. Once it is done, you have to click on create user. Now you can see this, your user is created successfully. Now this is the login detail that you have to use in order to log in. Always remember to download it as a CSV file. Now what you have to do? You just have to copy this URL. Now you have to specify your credential here. Basically, what I'm going to specify? My username and my password. So what is my username? My username is Alex. Now what is my password here? My password is this, and I'm just copying it and pasting it here. Now you can see that I have successfully logged into the AWS Management Console with the help of IAM user. So in this video, we'll learn how to create an IAM user in AWS. It is very important because many times you have to give specific access to some other people in your company. So it is very important to learn about IAM user. Hello everyone. In this video, we will be going to talk about what is user group in AWS. In the previous video, we have seen that how to create an IAM user. Now let us say you have multiple friends or multiple users that you want to add permission. So instead of assigning permission individually to each user, you can assign them to a group. And on a group, you assign some specific permission. So what happens, as your team grows, you can easily add new user to the group, and they will automatically inherit the group permission without the need for the individual configuration. On a certain point, let us say you need a new permission. So instead of assigning it to each user, you can just assign that permission to your group. Now let us see the demo of how to do that. So first of all, what you have to do, you have to create an user group. So you have to go to user group section, and here you have to click on create group. Give him the name. Let us say I am giving the group name as CSE, and I am adding like how many users that I want to add in my group. So let us say only one user is created so far. So I will add user to my CSE group. Next, I want to give him S3 full access. So here I will just click on S3 full access. Next, let us say I want to create EC2 full access, and click on create user group. This is how you add a user to a group. Similarly, let us say your team member grows. Now you can just go to your group name and add your team member from here and just update it. In this video, I am going to talk about IAM role. So let us understand what is a role in IAM. So IAM rule stands for Identity and Access Management Rule. It is used to give temporary permission to your user or an application or a service. The benefit of using IAM rule is it eliminates the need of long-term credential, like you are creating IAM user. So let us understand the difference between IAM rule and IAM user. In IAM rule, you grant temporary permission to a user, application or service, such as EC2 or AWS Glue. In IAM user, you create long-term credential for individual to access AWS account. In IAM role, use temporary security credential that will expire after a specific period. In IAM user, you have to give permanent credential. IAM role can be assumed by any entities to gain access to AWS resource, whereas IAM user used by individual to log in into the AWS management console. IAM role can be used to grant permission across different AWS account, whereas in IAM user, you typically use within a single AWS account. Now let us implement IAM role in AWS. So what you have to do, you have to search for IAM here. Next, you have to click on roles. So as you can see, there are various types of roles which are already created. Now what you have to do, you have to click on create role. Now you have to define your entity type, like where you want to apply it. Now let us say, I want to create a role for my AWS service. So I will click on AWS service. Next, for which use case you want to create. So let us say my use case is EC2. So I will specify EC2 here and click on next. Next, what are the permissions that you want to give to this role? Now let us say I want to give the permission such as EC2 full access. So I'll click on EC2 full access and click on next. Now this is how a policies will look like in a JSON format. After that, you can review everything and give a name and give a role a name such as EC2 role. Now click on create role. Here you have to make the name. Now click on create role. Now your role is successfully created. Now you can go to here EC2 role, and this is your role. Now you can use this role and attach it to any AWS service. Hello everyone. In this video, we will be going to talk about policies in IAM. So let us understand, what do you mean by a policy? A policy is a document which defines some permission to perform a specific action on a resource under some specific condition. So basically, we are performing an action on a particular AWS resource under some certain condition. This document is written using JSON format. Now let us see what are the components of a policy. First of all, it will contain a version. Next, it will contain a statement. There can be one or multiple statements inside a policy. Inside the statement, we can specify 4 things: effect, action, resource, and condition. In this given example, a policy is made which can read all the objects present in an S3 bucket named as example bucket. Now here, we are defining the version. Next, we are defining an statement. Inside the statement, we are defining effect, which is allow, action, which is S3, get object, resource on that example bucket name. So this is how you create a policy in AWS. Now, let us see a demo of how we can create this in AWS. So first of all, let me copy this thing. Next, I am going to AWS Management Console and I am clicking here IAM. Next, I will click on policies. Next, what you have to click on create policy. Here in the policy editor, I am going to choose as JSON. Next, I'm editing it and I'm pasting my role. Once it is done, what I will do, I will click on Next. Here, you have to give policy a name. Let us say I am giving the name as S3 read only. Next, you have to click on Create Policy. Now you can see that your S3 read only policy is created. So if you search here S3 read only, it will show you. So here you can see the service is S3 that I am using. The access level is only read permission. The bucket name is example bucket and there is no condition applied. So this is how you create a policy in IAM. Hello everyone. In this video, we will be going to talk about password policies in IAM. So let us understand what do you mean by password policies. Password policies in AWS are used to define some set of rules for creating and managing user password. It is important because it helps us to improve the overall security of our AWS environment. Let us implement this example using AWS. So first of all, you have to go to your AWS Management Console and here you have to search for IAM. Now, what you have to do, you have to go to Account Settings. In the Account Settings, you have to go to Password Policy section and you have to click on Edit. Here, the default password is set. Now what you have to do, you have to change it. So you have to click on Custom. Your minimum password length is 12 characters. So specify 12 here. Then require at least one uppercase, one lowercase, one number, one non-alphanumeric character. Turn on password expiration. Let us say 90 days. Allow user to change their own password. Prevent password reuse, let us say 5 times. Now after this, you have to click on Save Changes. Now by doing this, we are improving the overall security of our AWS environment. Hello everyone. In this video, we will be going to talk about access keys in IAM. Let us understand what is access key. Access keys are basically security credential which is used to authenticate and authorize programmatic access to AWS service and resources. It consists of access key ID and a secret access key. Let us see a demo. I am into the AWS Management Console. Then I will search for IAM. Click on it. Next, I have to click on My Security Credential. Now you have to go to AWS Keys section and you have to click on Create Access Key. Now here tick mark this and you will click on Create Access Key. Now you will get your access key and secret access key. Next, you have to install AWS CLI. So you can search for AWS CLI and click on Install or Update and download the version that you want. In my case, it is Windows. So I'll click on Windows and download this. Once it is installed, what you have to do, you have to open CMD. First you have to write AWS configure. Here you will provide your key ID and your password. So the key ID is this. Let me copy this. And your secret access key. So my secret access key is this. Next, leave the default region name and default output format. Now click on Null. Next, let us say you want to list all the buckets present in S3. So you can write AWS S3 ls. With this command, you list all the buckets present in S3. Now, you have successfully learned how to use your access keys. Hello everyone. In this video, we will be going to talk about multi-factor authentication in IAM. So let us understand what is multi-factor authentication. Let us say as a user, you are entering your username and your password. Now you have to scan your QR code and it will generate one-time code for you. Once you enter the code, then you can log into your AWS account. So by doing this, we are increasing one more level of security to the user. So there are two types of multi-factor authentication present inside the AWS. First one is virtual, second one is hardware. In virtual MFA, what you have to do, you have to install some certain apps such as, let us say, Google Authenticator or AWS Authenticator. On that app, you will receive your one-time code and then you have to enter it and you can log in successfully. Similarly, second, you can use hardware multi-factor authentication. Now, in the demo, we'll be showing you how to set up virtual MFA on your AWS account. So first of all, what you have to do, you have to go to AWS Management Console. Next, you have to search for IAM. In the security recommendation, you have to click on Add MFA for root user. So you have to click on Add MFA. Now you have to give your device name. Let us say my device is Android, so I will write Android. Now here, three options will be given to you: passkey, authenticator app, or hardware-based token. We are selecting the authenticator app. Next, you have to click on Next. After that, what you have to do, you have to install one application such as Google Authenticator. In my mobile, I already have Authenticator app. Next, what I will do, I will click on Show QR code option. Now from the Authenticator app, I will scan this code. So let me just scan this code. Now I will enter my code. Next, after 30 seconds, a new code will be get generated here. So let us wait for 30 seconds. Now what you have to do, you have to press your code 124935. Once it is done, you have to click on Add MFA. This is how you set multi-factor authentication in IAM. Hello everyone. In the AWS series, we have covered about various AWS services such as S3 and IAM. Now, the security token service is the last topic in IAM. So let us understand what is a security token service in IAM. Imagine you want to get into a special club, but you don't have a ticket. So what you will do, you will go to a ticket booth and show your ID, and the booth will give you a pass for a limited period of time. So in this tech world, where you want to access a system or any resource, you use the security token service to get a special pass. This token will be valid for a limited period of time, through which you can access something securely. So it is a web service which allows you to request temporary limited privilege credential for AWS IAM user or a federated user. Now there is a term called as federated user. Now let us understand this thing in detail. So what is a federated user? Suppose that there is a user who can access to your system or application using their own credential from another trusted place. So this type of user that I am talking about is called as federated user. So it is an external user who is authenticated by an identity provider outside of AWS. So here you grant some temporary access to the AWS resources without needing to create an AWS IAM user. So this type of user is called as federated user. Now let us talk about some of the various use cases of security token service. First of all, you can grant temporary access to the user outside of AWS, such as federated user. Second, you can grant temporary permission without needing to create IAM user. Third, you can allow user in another AWS account to access some resource in this account with the help of security token service. Next, let us see the demo of security token service. There is no direct way to implement security token service. You need to have a CLI installed on your machine. So first of all, you need to install your CLI. Search here AWS CLI. Click on this link. Then you have to go to your machine. For example, in my case, it is Windows machine. So I'll go to Windows and I will click on here. Once this is installed, the next step that you have to do is you have to go to Cloud Shell. Now you have to click on here. The first thing that you have to do is you have to create an IAM role. The first thing that you have to do is you have to create an IAM user. So let us say the IAM username will be Abhishek. So what I will do, I will be using this command. AWS IAM create user, username is Abhishek. The first thing that you have to do is you have to create a user. Let us say I want to create a user with name as Avi. So what I will do, I will be using this command. So AWS IAM create user and the username will be Avi. Paste it here and it's done. So this is our first step. All the commands that I am using in this video will be available in description. Second thing, I am creating an IAM policy for an assume role. So what is an assume role? Let us understand. It allows an user or an application to temporarily gain permission assigned to that role. So this is called as assume a role. Basically, you are assuming the role in this. So in order to create an assume role, you have to use this command. Echo version name, then your statement. In a statement, we know that there will be three things, which is effect, action, and resource. So here the action will be STS assume role, and the resource will be everything. After that, what I will do, I will save this thing in a file named as assume role policy.json. Now click on paste, and here we can see that our file is get created. Let us verify it. Just press ls here. And you can see that a file name assume role policy.json is created. Now let me clear the screen. The next thing that you have to do is you have to create an IAM policy. So what I will do, I will be using this command AWS IAM create policy. The policy name is assume role policy. And the document file is assume role policy.json. So what I will do, I will click on paste. And you can see our policy get created. The thing that we have to remember here is we have to copy this ARN, which is Amazon resource name. So what I will do, I will just copy it here and paste it somewhere. Let us say I am pasting it in my notepad. So let me just paste it here. Once this thing is done, the next step that you have to do is you have to attach the policy to your user, which is Avi. So what I will do, I will be using this command in order to attach it. So AWS IAM, attach user policy, and your username is Avi. So let me just edit it. And your policy ARN will be this one. Let me copy this thing. Now you have to press enter. And you can see that your policy is being attached to the username Avi. Next, you have to verify the attached policy. So this is the command that I'm going to use, which is AWS IAM list attach user policy, and the username will be Avi. So you can see that our policy name will be displayed here. The next thing that I have to do is I have to create a trust policy JSON file. So what I will do here, I will just use this command, echo, then your version, statement, effect, principal, and then AWS, what you have to do, you have to specify the ARN that you have just created. So what I will do, I will just copy this thing. You have to create a trust policy JSON file. So this is the command that I'm going to use. Remember that you have to replace your AWS ARN with this. So here you can see my ARN number and my username is Avi. Now what I will do, I will just click on paste. Now a file name will be created with name as assume role trustpolicy.json. You can verify it by using ls. You can see that a file is created. Now let me just clear my screen. Next, I will be creating an IAM rule with the following trust policy that we have just created. So what I will, this is the command that I will be going to use. AWS IAM create rule, your role name is assume trust rule, and your policy will be this one. So let me just paste it here. It is saying that rule with assume trust rule already exists. So what you will do, now you have to create an IAM rule with this trust policy. So this is the command that you need to use. AWS IAM create rule with role name assume trust rule, and your policy document will be this, and click on enter. Now what you have to do, you just have to copy this ARN. And let me paste it in the notepad. Once this thing will be done, next let me just clear the screen. Now I will attach the S3 read-only access to this role. So this is the command that I am going to use. AWS IAM attach role policy, the role name that you have just created, which is assume trust role, and your policy is S3 read-only access. Next, let us verify this thing using this command. AWS IAM list attach role policies, the role name is assume trust role. So you can see that our S3 read-only policy is displayed. You can add any number of other policies also in this role, depending upon what you want to do. Once this thing is done, next what you have to do, you have to clear the screen. Then you have to use this command in order to create an access key for Avi. The thing that you have to copy is access key ID and secret access key. Now, these two things you have to save it somewhere. I am saving it in the notepad. Let me save the secret access key. Once it is done, I am going to open my command prompt and I am going to configure AWS. Now I'll copy my access key ID. Next, I will paste my secret access key here. Next, I will leave as default and default output format. Once it is done, the next step that I will going to do is getting the caller identity from AWS. So this is the command that I'm going to use here. AWS STS get caller identity. Now you can see your account number here and your user ID with your ARN name. Next thing, if I try to list the S3 bucket, it will show me a permission error which will look like this. You cannot list the bucket because you don't have the STS policy attached to it. So what I will do next is, I will attach the policies here. So the command that I'm going to use is AWS STS assume role, and I will copy my ARN here. Once it is done, I will just copy it and paste it my CMD. Now it will give me several credentials such as AWS access key ID, secret access key, session token. So next that I have to do is I have to save these important keys in a variable. So currently I am in Windows laptop, so I'll be using set command in order to save this variable. So the first thing that you need to do is set AWS access key ID and just copy it. Next, you have to follow the same for session token also. Secret access key. Next, you have to follow for secret access key also. And third, what you have to do, you have to set it for AWS session token. And you just have to copy the token and paste it there. Once this thing is done, the next step that you have to do is, you have to try to list the S3 buckets. So the command that I'm going to use is AWS S3ls. Now it will show me all the necessary buckets present in my AWS account. So this is the demo for using security token service in AWS IAM. Now if you like this, do subscribe to our YouTube channel